Okay, so here we are on the second half of my coverage of White Mountain, and not a fog turn. The Imperial troops are kind of swinging around. You can see one of them's even snuck back here, attacking that sucker along with the banner. If I capture the banner, that's a hit on at least either morale or victory points, maybe both. I can't remember because the way the rules are worded on this, if I could look it up, I can piece it together, but looking at one paragraph of it doesn't help, and I've got like one paragraph maybe in my mind, but I know both it and the wagon, one of them affects both, maybe both of them do, but they're worded in a way to make me believe that one affects one and one affects the other, and that's not the case. All right, we got a bunch of attacks here. I've been in the habit of rolling the dice for all of these. The artillery did nothing. Tried to loosen something up here. This guy was screened. I don't know how much value that really is. So I guess I'll refrain from doing it from now on. I know some people like all the detail, but honestly, it's the story that's kind of interesting, and seeing each little die roll doesn't really help capture that, I think. Managed to chip a hole in the line here, took the weakest point. I don't have to hit both, remember. Over here, well, I'm doing some damage to the Bohemians. We took the flag. Gotta look to see what that does. I think it's at least 10 points towards the... Alright, we'll look it up. It's at least 10 points towards demoralization. So, 10 points for the banner, 20 points for the baggage train, but those are victory conditions. Demoralization, 10 for the banner, 10 for the baggage train. What are we at now? 10, 15, 20, 22, 32. We're getting close. Only 14 away. And a lot further away for the Imperials, but of course, we get to move the Bohemians at this point. There's weaknesses on the Imperial side. So, for example, there's an attack here, not quite a soak off, but a 1-to-1 attack, and it's leaving Maximilian exposed. I believe if he's left in a zone, if that unit's destroyed, he can be captured, killed, whatever. Yeah, so if that unit gets destroyed, he can be destroyed as well. I've got to make some rolls for the disruptions, and I'll come back after the Bohemians. The danger of being outflanked on this side forces the Bohemians to pull back. Got some key attacks here. For example, the artillery made a hit here on Tilly's unit, soften it up so that I can launch an attack there. And then some along here just to try to wreck the Imperial advance and maybe inflict enough casualties that they can't finish me off without me breaking them as well. Anyway, I'll get done with the battles, and I'll also roll the recoveries before. And a little bit of success there, not as much as I would have hoped. Tilly's still there. He didn't get knocked out. But we did destroy this unit and actually recovered from the damage that we took from it. So they're now at 6, 12, 16, 21. It's going to be pretty hard to wreck the Imperial army. So really my key at this point is to try to keep the Bohemians from losing as badly as they did historically. I think this is a really, really impossible scenario for them. And now swinging around over here, we kind of lost what's doing the outflanking, but we got a couple of units behind their lines, which is good enough to kind of really project attacks to allow us to get up these hills and across the stream positions. And then over here, the same kind of thing, to just kind of wear at their edges. The only way I can see there being a serious risk for the Imperials is to take the historical option and charge forward with everything, slam into it, and then hope your reserves are strong enough that you can break the remainder. But it seems like any kind of level of enfilading is going to do great things for you in this game. There's just not enough Bohemians to hold this whole line. Which is kind of weird because, the Tilly option is throw some units down on the border. Well, or on the edge of the board and take the outflank right from the beginning. But there's no reason you can't do it anyhow. In some ways, the large amount of fog turns, we're still rolling for them. They've gone up to 1s and 2s now. Not this turn though. One didn't happen this turn. The large amount of fog turns that I've had have been a problem. Although I assume that the later fog turns are really actually firepower smoke on the field. You'll see that's showing up on all of them. Fog is unlikely in the evening in most situations, so it's probably just all that black powder in the air. All right, we'll come back after the attacks have been made. I'm not going to individually single them all out, but there are some interesting things, like this guy's got an attack here at a 1-to-1, which takes him out of the possibility of making this attack. So now, well, do I make a 1-to-1 here? Or do I make a 1-to-2 here and a 1-to-1 here? I still have some iffy kind of lower odds attacks that I'm making with the Imperials, but I do have the extra units, so I have to do it where I feel like I'm getting an edge elsewhere. Cute little situation arose here at the end of the Imperial attack. Largely, they're doing okay. A lot of trade-offs. You can see they took the only hit here on the 1-to-2 attack, but they made the successful attack here, and they're making attacks elsewhere. This is going to force the Bohemians to pull back again, maybe behind this streamline, just continuously falling back towards their wagon. What are my points right now? And they're bigger than I think, so let's hold on for a moment, because I had a successful attack here, but the Imperial unit was also disabled, and there's a leader here. The Imperial unit is 2 away from any other units. The leader doesn't count, so it was able to rally, and the leader's been destroyed by that. Now, I think those leaders are worth 5 each. I'm not sure. It's only 3. One's victory points, and again, the other's the morale level, and they're a little different. But our base points are 8, 10, 17, 24, 27, 29, 39. I believe that was only 10. We're getting up there. 39, and the leader is not listed there. 5 per leader, so 44. So I am 2 points away from breaking the Bohemian army. That's going to be pretty easy to have happen. And now the leader for victory points is only worth 3 points per leader value point. And these are 5 per unit versus 3 per point of the leader. Again, the victory points are a little different, but I think at the end of this battle, it's going to be pretty clear who's won. In fact, it's pretty clear already. Okay, and the Bohemians have pulled back again towards this hill line here, further and further towards that. They're holding. Oh, I forgot to fire my guns. Damn. I don't know where to shoot. I should have done this first thing off. It strikes me that killing things is worth something, but so is disabling stuff. So let's go the range 2 with the disable. No. And over here, I got decent odds on that. I'm gonna shoot. Yeah, I'm gonna shoot to kill here. It's not gonna kill right away, but I've got good odds on the attack that I'm planning. And that didn't work either. But I've got a number of attacks here, and I've kind of got to make this attack in order to save these guys. Otherwise, they're all disordered, and they're going to be a problem. But my odds aren't that good. They're 3-to-1. I'll probably disorder him, but I can't eliminate him. As we wind things out, there's been mutual disorders all along that line. No real way to rally any of these, and even where I did have chances to rally, I didn't get the luck there. Here I got an exchange essentially for this attack. Here I didn't, but my front line is pretty disordered, which means I'm in trouble. The Imperials are going to probably break enough of my units to wreck my army next turn. That would be pretty much 1 unit at this point. And I can't seem to stop the excursions coming around my I'm realizing I'm not sure I'm complying with the command control rules all the time. Oh, Brightonfield didn't have them, and it's easy to forget something like that. Anyway, what we've got is the Imperials. Their army is beginning to break down, so Maximilian's hanging back and trying to rally a bunch of them. I couldn't move more into place because some of these guys had to jump out of the way to create channels for other units to move forward. I'm going to launch the attacks. They're almost all hitting on this side except for one little cav attack over here. The Bohemian line is still fairly strong on this side, and of course this guy over here, I had to get away from that cannon. That's just dangerous. Granted, I'm not terribly far away there, but you know, it's too easy to pick them off and do some damage, and we're getting towards the end of the game where really just killing things is probably what's mostly important. Although, you know, you can see the effect of having knocked out so many of the Imperial units, mainly through their own attacks, has had on their viability to continue the attack. If these were all loose, they could be running around here. As it is, though, this wagon's in a lot of danger. Well, the Bohemian army has been wrecked, which was pretty much a guarantee. The attacks didn't go as well as you might hope. Made some kind of low odds attacks here because I charged in kind of willy-nilly. To some extent because, well, if I hit infantry, it's not going to rally and the cav is going to have a harder time. And it's just getting really, really tricky for the Bohemians. Now, this puts them in a kind of weird position where, what do you want to do at this point? You know, I mean, obviously you have to withdraw. You've got that extra speed on your demoralized units to get them further from the battle area. There's no rules for withdrawing from the map, though. There isn't a lot of time left, so I think just running far away might help, but the cav can pursue you down, and you've got nowhere to go. This line is still pretty potent. I'd like to use it, but it's getting harder and harder to do so. Leaving these guys out there, or somebody out there, there'd probably be an infantry in here. How much sense does that make? They're hard to attack, so they'll probably just be bypassed like this one was. And I can leave there, but what am I going to do? I don't know. And that puts us to the end of the Bohemian turn. I only got to try to rally a couple of units. I've got this guy here vainly trying to defend the wagon. That thing can't move. Some firepower. I killed one unit and disabled another. Some killed one up here in the front. But there's just not that much to do here. The only hope is to, I don't know what. I mean, maybe do some damage here. 3, 9, 12, 22, 27. I'm not going to be able to wreck the army. So there's really no moral victory here. The only real question is, well, how much can the Imperials hack on the remainder of the Bohemian army? And, you know, I'm trying to put some cav in the way to slow them down from whacking these poor fellas here, but there's really not much left. Here we're at what amounts to the final Imperial attack, a sweep against all these routed units. Attack here. I'm leaving the core here alone, but I've taken the wagon. I don't even, you know, I'm not going to count the points at the end of this, I don't think. I don't know. But I'd like to at least fight it out, even if I don't count them. I may. We'll see. Bohemians pulling back actually did quite a bit of damage. Knocked out a bunch of those units that had kind of been disordered or whatever on their attacks. And maybe made up for some of the ground and pulled out of where they had to attack. I'll come back after counting. I'm a little curious. Obviously, the Bohemian army is disorganized or demoralized, and the Imperial army is still not going to be. There's not that many hits, but the points might be a little more interesting than I forgot. Casualties. Imperial casualties count 2 points each. Bohemian ones only 1 point each. It ended up a little closer than one would think. 110 for the Imperials, 91 for the Bohemians. And the only problem here is there's nothing to really spur the Imperials to try to win the battle. Without terrain goals, without some victory point chart which says, hey, you know, if they just sit here, the Bohemians win. I think the old Breitenfeld had that, where the Swedes actually had to do something in order to win the game. Without something like that, a game like this kind of doesn't work perfectly in terms of victory point setup. And I'm wondering if they've changed the victory points to just say, yeah, they're even no matter what. You know, it's just going to be a zero base. We've tinkered with it a little bit, and we're not going to worry about, you know, trying to balance it out or trying to force one player to attack. I'm a little curious about that now. Let's look at these Breitenfeld exclusive rules. There's like no rules in this game. So it's just points given out. Yeah, no, this is the same kind of system. Oh well. I had some hopes that maybe the old SPI system had been a little bit more interesting. But it looks like they pretty much transcribed the rules just into a slightly different format. In fact, not even terribly different. Well, that's the end of this one. We see what I would call a fairly uninspiring victory by the Imperials. The historic victory was a complete wipeout of the Bohemian and Protestants. The problem is the game doesn't really. There's been some attempt, I think, to make it a more balanced game. Now, of course, my musket and pike game of this, the Protestants won because the terrain was so tough that I couldn't maneuver my units properly with the Imperials. So, I don't know. I did better with them this time. All right, up we go.